and about the public perception of his presidency.
When you take a tour of the world, a lot of Americans email me with their fears that, you know, some days they wake up and it just feels to them like the end of the world is near, and you go from North Korea to Iran to Iraq to Afghanistan, and you look at how things have changed, how Americans are viewed overseas, if that is important to you. Do you have any moments of doubt that we fought the wrong war? That there's something wrong with the perception of America overseas? Well,
those are two different questions. Did we fight the wrong war? And I have no doubt. The war came to our shores. Remember that. We had a foreign policy that basically said, let's hope calm works. And we were attacked.
But those weren't Iraqis.
No, they weren't, no, I agree. They weren't Iraqis, nor did I ever say that Iraq ordered that attack. But they're a part of, Iraq is part of the struggle against the terrorists. Now, in terms of image, of course I worry about American image. We're great at TV, and yet we're getting crushed in the PR front. I personally do not believe Saddam Hussein picked up the phone and said to Al-Qaeda, attack America.
The folks who say you should have asked for some sort of sacrifice from all of us after 9/11, do they have a case looking back on it?
Americans are sacrificing. I mean, we pay a lot of taxes. The Americans sacrificed when they, when the economy went in the tank. Americans sacrificed when, air travel was disrupted. The American taxpayers have paid a lot to help this nation recover. I think Americans have sacrificed.
Mr. President, I know how much you love deep psychological examinations of yourself. While you were at Kennebunkport this last weekend, people talked about your relationship with your dad. People mentioned that former President Clinton has been a guest at Kennebunkport more often in the last few years than you have been.
Yes.
And there was a lot of speculation. Your spokesman, Tony Snow, recently all but said it's because of the way your father chose to end the first Gulf War that bin Laden saw weakness enough to strike the United States. Is there
trying to figure out where you're going here.
Is there a palpable tension when you get together with the former president, who happens to be your father? A lot of the guys who work for him are not happy with the direction.
Oh, no, listen, my relationship is adoring son.
Do you talk shop?
Sometimes, yeah, of course we do, but that's a really interesting question. I mean, it's kind of conspiracy theory at its most rampant. My dad means the world to me as a loving dad. He gave me the greatest gift a father can give a child, which is unconditional love. And yeah, we go out and kind of float around there trying to catch some fish and chat and talk, but he understands what it means to be president. He understands oftentimes I have information that he doesn't have. And he also understands how difficult the world is today. And I explain my strategy to him. I explain exactly what I just explained to you down there about how I view the current tensions. And he takes it on board, and he leaves me with this thought: I love you, son.
If your administration ended today, would you be satisfied with the record thus far? Again, the view out there, I think if you asked 9 out of 10 presidential historians, high point, Bullhorn in the rubble of the buildings that came down. Low point, we're standing on it. Is that fair?
First of all, there's no such thing as short-term history as far as I'm concerned. I think that you can't judge a presidency based upon a moment's notice. I believe you have to take eventually my standing in history will be judged by people 30 or 40 years from now who will be able to take an objective look at whether the decisions I made led to peace and prosperity. This is a job where you make decisions, and you do what you think is right, and you let people, but recognizing that people are going to say what's on their mind at the moment. But I read 3 histories of George Washington last year. The first president of the United States is still being analyzed by historians, which ought to say to this president and future presidents, do what you think is right, and eventually historians will figure out whether it made sense or not.
We always talk about what you're reading. As you know, there was a report that you have just read the works of a French philosopher. Can you tell us the backstory of Camus?
The backstory of the book?
Well, what led you? What led
I
you
was
to
in
this?
Crawford, and I said I was looking for a book to read, and Laura said you ought to try Camus. I also read 3 Shakespeares.
This is a change. You
No,
just years
really?
ago were
Wait a
reading The
minute.
Life Story of Joe DiMaggio by Richard Ben Kramer,
Which
if
is a good
memory
book.
serves. You've been on a Teddy Roosevelt reading kick. You
I'm
and I
reading-
discussed the
well,
last
I'm
time we
reading
were
about
here.
the Battle of New Orleans right now. I've got an eclectic reading list.
And now Camus.
Well, that was a couple of books ago. Let me look. The key for me is to keep expectations low.
Is that what everyone doesn't get?
I don't know, Brian, what they get or don't get. You know, my
You
life.
see all the talk.
Here's the thing. I don't. Look, here's the thing. The great thing about the presidency is you're totally exposed, and people spend a lot of time, particularly if you're making decisions and hard decisions. People spend a lot of time not only analyzing decisions, they analyze the decision maker, and I understand that. But a president must never let him get off. Let that get him off track.
Even if you're
You have to-
frustrated that we're getting something
You
wrong.
have to do what you think is. If we're getting something wrong, we change it.
How have you been read wrong?
Oh, I don't know about that wrong. I mean, I frankly don't pay that much attention to it. I don't want to hurt people's feelings about it. You know,
Still not watching television, huh?
Oh, I watched a good baseball game.
Brian Williams with the president. For continuing